sportsmanship disputes have punctuated the history of India-Pakistan cricket matches. And even now, we see emotions running high. Gaurav, Nikhil, a very good afternoon to you. And my first question is to both of you. The fact that whether this was the posturing that was done by Suryakumar Yadav, there is no protocol per se of shaking hands with the opposing team. So this is more of a courtesy, this is more of a convention that we see both team players or captains sharing. In that context, how are we looking at what exactly went down both pre and post the match? Gaurav, I'll start with you.
So, one, ideally, India should not be playing Pakistan. India's effort should be to get Pakistan out of the ICC, not have any multilateral. The way South Africa was ousted because of apartheid, I personally feel Pakistan should be out as long as it remains a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror, and India has the heft. But be that as it may, if we are playing with it, I think it's a very nice thing that Surya Kumar Yadav did not shake hands with the Pakistani player, because that's a team that speaks with the forked tongue. All these players who are today talking about cricket being a gentleman's game, none of them are gentlemen. The same Shoaib Akhtar who says, today they should have shook hands, is the same Shoaib Akhtar who sometime back was talking about Ghazwa-e-Hind against Hindus. And Ghazwa-e-Hind means the victory of Islam over Kafirs or non-believers or Hindus in Hindustan. So clearly that's not a gentleman's game. These are the same Pakistanis who rejoice that they had their namaz on the cricket field in front of Hindus, or for Imzamamul Haq, cricket is more like a field to convert non-believers into Islam. So for Pakistan to speak about a gentleman's game, it's like the devil quoting the scriptures. Point one. Point two, look, India and Pakistan cannot be friends as long as Pakistan remains a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. And sports has always been an instrument of foreign policy of every country. And we've talked about it at length, whether it's the Western Bloc not playing the 1980 Moscow Olympics or the entire Soviet bloc then boycotting the 84, Los Angeles Games. So whatever is happening is par for the course. Pakistan must rise. Terror is unacceptable for India, and that country has to rise. Pakistan, if it wants good ties with India, every Pakistani has to condemn India-centric terror.
Right, Gaurav. Nikhil, your point on this very question at this point.
Well, Shreya, I mean, you spoke about what is the handshake gesture? Is it part of the rule book? But I mean, just to let our viewers know, it's more of a customary practice that happens at the end of the game. So, firstly, if you look at within the framework of the rules, you really can't be taking any action against the Indian team, because as of now, Pakistan cricket is crying foul. I believe they've gone to the Asian Cricket Council, alleging that the Indian team played outside the spirit of the game. But as I said, it's more customary. So there's no rule book against which you can take action against the Indian team. This was a decision taken by the Indian team, as mentioned by Suryakumar Yadav, in consultation with the government as well as the Board of Control for Cricket in India. But the other thing is what happened in the post-match press conference, where Suryakumar Yadav dedicated this win to the victim of the terror attack in Pahalgam as well as the armed forces. Now, of course, there again, each player is allowed to dedicate it to whoever they want. We've seen players dedicate it to flood victims or to personal family members or a deceased friend or so on and so forth. So players are allowed to do that also. The only, issue here that might crop up a little later is that most international multilateral tournaments do not allow players to come up with any political related statement. We had a incident, a couple of incidents I can remember where you had an Australian cricketer carry a sort of a token about free Palestine, and he was really pulled up by the International Cricket Council. We had Mahendra Singh Dhoni once in a World Cup wearing the insignia of the para forces that he was part of as an honorary colonel. So that was also told to MS Dhoni to remove that. Now, whether you can make a statement, and this is not a direct political statement that the captain has made, but it is in a way related to what happened between the two countries in Operation Sindoor. Could Asian Cricket Council take objection to that? We'll have to wait and watch. But if you ask me personally, I think players are also, while they represent India and they play for the Indian Indian public. In a personal capacity, I'm sure they were also affected with what happened between the two countries in the last few months. And then they're also allowed to express what they felt. I've often said, when there were people talking about India-Pakistan encounter, should it go ahead? I often said, why do we have to treat a cricket match between India and Pakistan as some sort of Aman ki Asha, or you're going on to play Pakistan to extend a hand of friendship? That's not happening in the current scenario. However, I think the message that the Indian team wants to send is that, listen, this is a multilateral tournament. At this point, if you're not to play Pakistan, you will only hurt your own country. You only stand isolated yourself. So the government has taken the decision that we must play multilateral tournaments. No point of playing bilateral tournaments. But when we are playing a match, this is no way an admission that we are going there as peace doves, extending a hand of friendship. We're not doing that. We're professional cricketers. We're down there playing the game, but we're also affected with what happened between the two countries. And I think that is something that they've expressed in the gesture that they did after the game.
Right, Nikhil. Well, I understand what you're saying here, and thank you for putting across the technicalities involved here as well, whether it was a protocol that was required for Suryakumar Yadav to have adhered to. But when you speak about a cricket match and what it symbolizes under such circumstances, the problem is when a former cricketer rather, like a Shoaib Akhtar comes in and today says that इसको इतना बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. I mean, at no point has India said that this cricket match means that all is forgiven. The situation still remains to be the same. Gaurav, would you not say this is in fact what Suryakumar Yadav has done today out there on the cricket field is, I would say, drawn a mere line, and respectfully so. We have seen in the past that there have been instances between Indian players and Pakistani players of aggression that has come out much more explicitly, one would say. This was a mere respectful way of Suryakumar Yadav saying that, yes, we've played the match, cricket has been played, that is what we came here for, and that's where we draw the line.
So whether it's Shoaib Akhtar or Shahid Afridi, the fact that saying isko badhane ki zarurat nahi hai, they are the elements who are trying to normalize radical Islamist terror that bleeds India. What is it that India upset about? India upset about Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror bleeding Indians in Pahalgam. What happened in Pahalgam? Pakistani terrorists came, they singled out Hindus, they massacred Hindu men in front of their wives and their children. Now, this jhagda in a family, as Shoaib is trying to put it, is this, let's not increase it the way Shahid Afridi is putting it, that is the politics being brought into cricket? This is nothing but a rather disgraceful attempt by these Pakistanis to normalize radical Islamist terror and trying to tell India, terror hota rahega, humko khelte rehna chahiye, and normalize it and shake hands with us, all is well. That is not the way Indians look at it. Because I have covered this Islamist terror for decades. And each time after terror, including after 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, we played cricket with Pakistan. That was only an excuse for Pakistan to normalize ties and bleed India again. Did Pakistan stop terror in India? It did not. But their cricketers have often, in fact, always sided with that radical Islamist terror. Shahid Afridi was a terrorist who was killed. Shoaib has told Ghazwa-e-Hind or Islamic war against Hindus. And these people want to come to India, make money in India, normalize with India, continue to lead India. And that's unacceptable to Indians. That's exactly what Suryakumar Yadav and Gautam Gambhir and Indians are now saying. Enough is enough. There cannot be ties between the two countries when these people use religion to bleed India for their Ghazwa-e-Hind. What are they saying? They are saying that they are Muslims and they're coming to India to kill Hindus. That is Ghazwa-e-Hind. That's exactly what Shoaib Akhtar is talking about. And yet, we talk about cricket being a gentleman's game. There is nothing gentlemanly in what these Pakistanis do. And I think India finally has drawn that red line.
Right. Nikhil, Gaurav, do stay with us. We also have Rajdeep Sardesai joining us on the broadcast. Rajdeep, a very good afternoon to you. My question here to you would be, we have been discussing with regards to what India, in fact, ended up expressing on the field yesterday, both pre and post the match. But the question here is Pakistan trying to get a rise at this given point using the very situation? There is no protocol that has been breached. India-Pakistan matches have been much more tense in the past. After a Pahalgam attack, we have seen India still playing the very game. to adhere to the regulations of the very Asia Cup League. And despite that, a shaking of hand not being done, that is what's being pointed out by them.
Well, I'm sorry, I have a very unpopular opinion, completely different to what I heard from my friend Mr. Gaurav Sawant. He clearly has not played the game. The fact is that if you don't want to play Pakistan, don't play. I have absolutely no problem, and I do believe in the present circumstances, the game should not have happened. This is my view. Having played the game, not shaking hands is unacceptable to me. Anyone who has ever played the game, and I speak for a number of cricketers who will probably not voice this, but know it in the heart of hearts, is unacceptable. You cannot make Shaheen Shah Afridi responsible for an attack in Pahalgam. Just as tomorrow you cannot make an Indian player accountable for what happens, let's say, if Pakistan accuses us of something in Balochistan. Unacceptable. Players cannot be reduced to these kind of warriors where they are expected to wear soldiers' uniforms. They are cricketers. They play a sport. Sport is supposed to raise the level of skill and human endeavor, not become victims or trapped in the weaponization of ugly politics. That, to my mind, is unacceptable. So I'm very clear about it. Having decided to play the game, then you follow the spirit of the game. And if you don't want to follow the spirit of the game, don't play. It's as simple as that. I mean, are you telling me that a handshake between, let's say, the Pakistan captain and the Indian captain would suddenly bring back bring back to the victims of Pahalgam the anger and grievance that they feel, that they would feel let down? They feel let down because you played with Pakistan, for God's sake. Having taken that decision to play with Pakistan, now to say, okay, we'll play, but we won't shake your hand. I mean, what rubbish is that? This is precisely the problem. We rely on symbolism, empty, it's hollow, empty symbolism. And it gives Pakistan, unfortunately, the opportunity to take the moral high ground, saying, well, we were ready to shake hands and the Indians won. Please understand, we do not want to be victims of ugly politics. Make our cricketers, please keep sports out of this kind of ugly politics. And that's my view. I mean, it may be, as I said, unpopular, but I do believe that if you play the sport, then you jolly well follow sportsman spirit or don't play the sport at all.
Rajdeep, I'll request you to stay with us because I'll come to Gaurav now. Gaurav, what is your take on what has just been said by Rajdeep? And also, you know, nationalistic spirit or rather politics versus overtaking cricket at this given point. The discussion comes back to that.
Reading namaz on 22 yards by the Pakistani players like they do, is that the gentleman's game? Is, this Shoaib Akhtar talking about Ghazwa-e-Hind? Is that thing? Is Imam ul-Haq talking about converting people to Islam while playing cricket? Is that the gentleman's game? If that is the gentleman's game, I'm glad I have not played this game. And, somebody thinks Pakistan, a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror, can take the moral high ground because Indians have not shaken hands in a country where nobody in their cricketing team has criticized terror, bleeds India. And, not just once, not just Pahalgam in 2025, 1993, 257 people were massacred. We were playing cricket, and Javed Miadad is married to, his son married Dawood Ibrahim's daughter. And you are saying cricket has nothing to do with it? The cricket directly funds that radical Islamist terror. We may want to turn a blind eye to it. Fair enough, do that. But then we've had a history of turning a blind eye because it continues to bleed us. In midst of, even after 26/11 Mumbai attacks, we played cricket with Pakistan. Did that terror state? Are we holding the cricket team responsible? No, we are not. At the same time, when a cricket team, you take a knee for Black Lives Matter, and you can't make a statement about your own Indian lives matter, or in Pahalgam's case, Hindu lives matter. Do Hindu lives matter less? Did anybody object to that gentleman's game when Black Lives Matter, when the Indian team took a knee? I'm sorry, that so-called popular view is just being so woke, but not being practical about the ground realities of our times. Rajdeep, and to all our friends, Hindu lives also matter. So if India takes a stand like Suryakumar Yadav rightly did, then let us not criticize it and call it ungentlemanly. And thing that India does gives Pakistan, a sponsor of radical Islamist terror, moral high ground, unless you choose to cede that ground, Pakistan.
Right, Gaurav. Rajdeep, I'll come to you with what Gaurav has said, but I'll also add on to this. I want your response on this as well. That while you are saying that, let's not politicize cricket, let's not make it ungentlemanly at this given point, let's also understand what happens when cricketers like Shoaib Akhtar come out to say, let's not take this to the next level. Well, when they end up, commenting on the circumstances in a very light way. They are lightening the situation somewhere down the line by making comments like, इसको इतना बढ़ाना क्यों है? Rajdeep, if you can hear me. We will bring back Rajdeep into the conversation. But Gaurav, let me also ask you here, and you began, I remember, and this is for both Nikhil and Gaurav. Let's also understand, that brings us, at the points that you've raised, it brings us back to the question, should India have played this game in the very first place? Because you're pointing out that there are several reasons why this game shouldn't have been played to begin with. Then what happens to that very decision of the BCCI and the government at the same time?
So Nikhil may want to answer that on technicalities. As an Indian, I don't think we should be playing Pakistan. I don't think we should be having anything to do with a sponsor of radical Islamist terror. As long as military jihad network continues to bleed India, our ties with Pakistan should be restricted only to that government to government level, our commission to high commission level at whatever level, so that you know what's happening on the other side of the hill, and there be no people to people contact for simple reason. People to people contact has not resulted in peace between the two countries. And for me as an Indian, the only thing matters that Indian lives should not be lost at the hands of radical Islamist terror. That's my only concern. Whether Pakistan succeeds as a country or disintegrates into many pieces like it ultimately will, Balochistan going its own way and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa going its own way, well, good luck to them. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want fellow Indians to die. Should government be playing with them? I think no. Nikhil can tell us better whether if playing with them helps us in Commonwealth Games or in Olympic Games for multilateral events. I'm glad bilateral cricket is not happening.
Nikhil, please put forth your perspective in terms of the technicalities involved here. If India would not have played this game with Pakistan, what would have happened? Why play a game at a time when tensions are so high on every other aspect when we speak of India-Pakistan relations at this given point?
Firstly, thanks for that question. Just going back to why is it that India and Pakistan should play, I think I've made my stand very clear in the last week or so, multiple times on India Today, that, for me, not playing Pakistan in a multilateral tournament is like giving them a walkover, is like giving them a victory in that sense. What is the ultimate aim that Gaurav talks about, right? Is to isolate Pakistan at all international levels. That is what India would like to achieve at the moment. But I don't think you're in a stage like that. So what is the short-term solution? That you decide to pull out of every India-Pakistan match. Then where do you draw the line? You pull out of this match, then you'll have to be consistent with that policy going forward. What happens if you're playing the Asia Cup final? Do you not participate in that? What happens when Neeraj Chopra is going to be throwing the javelin in a few days' time at the World Championship? There's going to be a Pakistani competitor there in Arshad Nadeem. Should he not participate in the final? Indian women team will be playing the Cricket World Cup, the ICC World Cup. There'll be a very crucial game versus Pakistan that will help decide if you can move into the semi-final or not. Should we give that away? What that does is allows Pakistan then to continue participating at international level where India isolates themselves. We've given past examples of, let's say, the USSR, or we've given past examples of South Africa. That was a different situation. What you did there was you isolated the guilty party. In this case, you're saying, no, we'll isolate ourselves, let Pakistan continue to play. So what we need to understand is that while you and I can, express our opinions with a lot of emotions and, be patriotic or nationalist in our approach, the government cannot move like that. They will have to be very mindful of the fact, what is it that is best for the country? And I think that's why the decision was taken that bilateral series is like, okay, we are friends, let's play cricket together. Cricket is all about, friendship and so on and so forth. That's not what the Indian stance has been. India is saying no bilateral cricket. We do not want to have any bilateral relations, but when it's an international forum, we have to be there. There was an SEO meet that happened. Would you not want to participate in that just because Pakistan is there? No, you'd want to participate, but you're not having any talks with that. And I think what I go back to the gesture that the Indian team has made, and I think this is what needs to be made very clear. And I've been saying this for a very long time. The common thought we have is that every time we look at cricket between India and Pakistan, and every time they're playing, we're saying, okay, now listen, we've become friends again. We've forgotten everything that's happened in the past. No, you're competing at the highest level. You're competing. I give an example: 1980 Winter Olympics, at the peak of Cold War. USSR and US played a game of ice hockey. It was called Miracle on Ice, one of the greatest sporting game that's ever played. It wasn't played in great spirit. It was a continuation of what was happening politically between the two countries. So I don't think playing a sport always means that you're extending a hand of friendship, and I think that's what the Indian team also tried to send you a message out on.
Right. Nikhil, Gaurav, just stay with us. We'll just quickly take our viewers through some more reactions that have come in from former cricketers on this very matter. Let's listen into what they have to say.
First of all, let me congratulate the Indian team on winning the match against them. And I am with them because they stand by the Pahalgam victims. So, that's, under the so much controversy before the match starts. And I think they must have decided that, okay, right, this is it. We're not going to shake hands with them. And it's a fair call. And let the Pakistani protest. This is not a protest. This is just, you can say, jealousy or anything. We know that how the Pakistani players behave.
What's the point of complaining? Because the signal is clear that we don't want to, acknowledge you. We don't, condone what you do. And we know that you don't have any control about the dogma of your country, but you are on the same side, and we are upset. We have to play this game, and we'll just not, be nice enough. Far too long we have been nice guys of world cricket, and I think this is the right guy, because that day when Suryakumar Yadav shook hands with Salman, and I was telling that you have to play the game, but don't just do anything to give them the validation that things are normal.
Just feel that in the first place, if there's so much of acidity and caustic environment between two countries, it's best not playing them, because what you do is by playing them, you're showing that you're being compelled to play because of the sanctions, because of being ostracized by the ACC and ICC, and at the same time, during the game or after the game, you're not shaking hands. I mean, everybody is aware of the tension between two countries, but I've always felt that, in the past, of course, that cricket would be a bridge to getting people closer, but I've lost hope in that, because
Viewers, the debate over nationalistic sentiments versus sportsmanship spirit shall continue. It's far from over at this given point, especially if we speak of this very match, given the current circumstances and the developments that have come about.